All we need is a place to be and a few good friends for some company. If you'd like to stay, you don't have to leave. We'll leave the lights on and the door unlocked. If you drop on by, you don't have to knock. We're happy to share whatever we've got.
Hi, I'm Clay, and this is Yarn About You, a podcast where I get to chat with people I know and love, as well as people I'd just like to meet and hear their story. Tonight I've got a very special guest. It is... What's your name?
Oh, my goodness.
What's your name?
Kellie Martin.
Kellie Martin,
yes.
That's right. I knew it.
Don't you forget it.
That's right. Very hard to forget. Yeah. Kellie Martin, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Clayton. And how are you?
I am wonderful.
So what's this podcast about?
I've got no idea. Let's start.
Okay. Yeah, we are.
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. You're the one wanting to yarn about things.
I don't know. You were doing the red leather, yellow leather thing before.
Yeah, I was. That's called warm-ups. Yeah. You wouldn't understand that.
No, I wouldn't understand.
Yeah, not professional enough.
I'm already hot. I don't
I'm
need to
sorry.
warm up.
I should stop talking and let you talk about your podcast.
Please. Host.
Yes.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? Well, I'm mostly now from the Central Coast. I did grow up in Sydney.
What about your parents? Where did your parents?
My parents grew up in Sydney as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were together for a small amount of time to have my sister and I. Still remain friends. They are divorced. Yeah, good friends though. Shut up, Clayton.
Stop I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know.
I said nothing. You've got relatives. What was the link with Parramatta?
Oh, okay. So we're going back really early history. Okay, so I guess this is on my dad's side of the family. The Martin side of my family, they started with the line of a man called John Martin who was sent over on the First Fleet. He was a convict, and legend has it, well, we've actually had proof, he was actually originally from the West Caribbean. So John Martin was the first man in Australia on the convict ship that was of colour. Not of our Indigenous Australians that were already here, of course, but this man, he did the wrong thing by his owner over in England. I've actually got some documentation of what his crime was. So he stole a waistcoat from memory and a pocket watch and something else, and he was 1 shilling off getting hanged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what they did, he got lashes, and he also got 7 years and got put on a ship they're called the Don Kaiser. He was actually meant to be sent to Holland, but when he was in port, he got sick, and they kicked him off the ship. So before he was allowed to sail, and by the time he got better, it was time for all those ships to head out to Australia. So he was put on the ship to Australia, and that's how he came here. And after serving his time out here, he was pardoned, and he became the Constable of Pennant Hills. He was actually a man that could read and write, so that was unheard of back in those days, especially for a man of colour, so we don't know where that's come from.
Incredible. Do you know where he is?
Yeah, he's actually buried in Parramatta.
Okay.
Yep, and his house still stands today. Part of the foundations of the house that he built for his family is on Pennant Hills Road, next to the King's School. So it's actually behind the little BP service station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very interesting. So I've actually got records and copies of his marriage certificate, and he was actually married in Parramatta by the Reverend Samuel Marsden. So we've got that documentation also. And he ended up having about 7 kids, and we've come from that line, one of the kids from his children.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when he was actually in trouble, when he was still incarcerated by when he was still a convict, he got in trouble. There was something he did wrong with another friend of his, John. One of his mates' name was John someone. Anyway, they got in trouble and they escaped, and they got told while they were in this cottage that they were staying in, they weren't to light a fire. Well, they did, and they burnt the cottage down, so they ran off into the bushes, and they were on the run for a couple of days, and then they got caught and they got lashes. So,
wow.
yeah, whole different time.
So you're a very creative person. Where does that come from, besides Romper Room?
I have no idea.
You've got to explain the Romper Room now.
I know.
Yeah, you do.
Stop it. I love my romper room. I got to go on romper room because my dad's sister, my auntie, she used to work at Channel 7, so we luckily got to skip the queue, my sister and I, to go on Romper Room. But yeah, I was always, as a kid, wanted to be the centre of attention, and
So it's completely different to now.
Shut up.
Absolutely, completely different to
Yeah,
now.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm really humble. I'm super shy. I get told to come on, Kel, get out of your shell. No, that's not me. No, my parents aren't like that at all. None of my family are show ponies or anything. They gave me attention. I think they were just like shocked that I wanted attention so much, and they gave it to me. I know the stories of Dad taking me to work parties and having to get me off the table because I'm singing to people.
Oh, wow. It's kind of like now anyway.
Yeah, shut up.
Nothing changes.
Yeah.
So creativity. So what happened? You had Romper Room, and then, but where did you start doing your theatre or your acting?
Lots of bossing my sister and friends around, directing them in little plays and acts and things. And then I guess through school I got opportunities to perform. I was always the one with my hand up in the class wanting to read things out aloud. And
what was your first gig?
I was Mary in the school nativity play.
So typecast.
Yeah,
I was the Pied Piper. I had green tights. So
such a good look. Sorry, bad mental image.
That's a whole other story. So
funny.
So Mary.
Yeah, Mary. And then I did jazz ballet. So I got sort of.
So did I.
I know you did. I've seen those shots. And then throughout school, I got to. I got to do musicals at school, and then I think I got to be in some drama groups outside of school. That you met other kids from other schools in the area, and sort of went from there. And then I didn't do anything after I left school straight away. I was sort of working and that, and then a boyfriend I was with at the time, he was involved in little things like that, and he told me to come and audition for something down at the local theatre, and so I went, oh no, I haven't done anything since school, and he made me do it, which that's one thing I'll be grateful for him. Anyway, he made me go, and then he didn't get a role, and I got the lead, so that was sort of like, that didn't go down well.
Yikes.
Yeah, but it was from there I started getting back into that again, and it was great.
And you travelled for a while,
working
as well.
Yeah, I did.
What was that about?
I used to do educational theatre in primary schools. So what we used to do, there was about 5 shows that my ex-partner and I used to do, and we travelled around in a camper van, and we'd go to different schools, and from the outback to inner city schools, from Muslim schools to Catholic schools, you name it, we did it.
What kind of shows? What were they about?
Okay, so they were mostly educational, and it just depended on what things the school was lacking in their area. So maybe a school in the outback might not be able to have a music teacher all year. So we would probably be booked for a music show. So we teach kids about beatboxing, or everything in the world is an instrument. And we do things like that, and it was great. And every kid loves music or rhythm, or everyone's got something they can contribute. So we'd come up with little beats and things, and we'd record them on a loop station, and then we'd come up with a CD and we'd send it back to the school, and it'd be their own little piece of work, and
awesome.
It was great.
Now you went way out west. How far did you go?
Oh, we went everywhere. We were one of the only companies at the time that was nationally accepted in every state, because at the time there was only a couple of travelling educational groups, I guess you'd call them. It was mostly in Queensland that used to have it. It was Arts Council and things like that back in the day. But this one was actually being accredited nationally, so we got to go to every state and every school it was distributed advertising-wise to them, because it wasn't just music shows. Like, we taught kids about bullying in the playground. There was shows about resilience and responsibility, so teaching kids about how to bounce back from adversity and things like that. So, and as I said, we got to go to lots of different places. Like, we got to go to some outback areas that you would never put on your map to go and visit if you were just travelling. It was just by chance that you got booked by a random school that was lacking in something at their school, and we got to go out there, and it was always just a delight to turn up and have kids just, excited to see you, because it was primary age school, so it was perfect kids,
Oh, wow.
kid times, because kids want to be a part of everything.
You would have been in your element.
I was.
Sure.
I was loved. It was great.
Speaking of being on the road, this segues into something you're very interested in. Tell the story of, was it coming back from Tassie?
Ah, yes, it was.
First of all,
Yep.
Kellie's very interested in starting a supernatural podcast where people tell their creepy stories. So this is something
Yeah.
we definitely want to look into and find a way. Everybody's got a creepy story. Now, this one is incredible. Take it away, Kel.
Yeah, this is always something that's unexplainable to me. And anyway, so I'd been on the road for a couple of years, and just as a precursor to this story, before I took off around Australia, I had 2 dogs at the time, and those 2 dogs were meant to come around Australia with us. Anyway, just before we left, one of my dogs, the German Shepherd, he unfortunately passed away, and so we only had 1 dog on the road with us. Okay, so we've been on the road for a couple of years, and I think it was our 2nd or 3rd time back from Tasmania. And when we're coming back on the ship, where you park your vehicle on the ship, everyone sort of, it's like Tetris, I guess. You've got to all fit. And there was people all parked around and in front of us. And this time I had signed a waiver to let my dog just stay in the vehicle, because one time we went over Bass Strait and we could hear him howling the whole way over. So he was much more comfortable in his camper with his bed. Anyway, so we'd done that. And so when we got down to the car to get off, I got him straight out of the vehicle to let him walk around and stretch his legs, etc. And in the meantime, there was a vehicle that was parked in front of us that was broken down, and my ex was actually conversing with the guy about fixing his vehicle and helping him out and all that, and was talking to the wife. And anyway, so Odin, this is the dog's name, he was out and they were patting him and saying, wow, what an awesome dog, he's really cute. And I was like, yeah, he's a great dog, blah, blah, blah. And he was a red cattle cross bull terrier, okay? Anyway, so they patting him for a while, and then they looked at me and they were looking around and they said, so where's your other one? And my ex and I looked at each other and we said, no, we've only got the one. And then the other people were like, no, when we came down here, there was 2 dogs sitting in the front seat. There was a German Shepherd in the driver's seat, and that dog. My jaw just dropped, and my ex and I just stared at each other. We didn't know what to say. We were in shock and these people were so adamant they'd seen a German Shepherd. Anyway, they didn't know that when my German Shepherd had passed away, I'd had him cremated, and he was actually in an urn underneath the driver's seat.
Underneath the driver's seat.
Yes. So that was really spooky, and we were sort of stoked and shocked and didn't know what to say to these poor people, because they looked at us weird, like, why are they lying to us about their dog? Like we're trying to smuggle a German Shepherd onto the mainland or something.
And it wasn't as though they saw another dog the same as
No,
Odie.
no, because
They saw a
Odin,
German Shepherd?
they saw a
Odin.
German Shepherd. Odin was a red cattle cross bull terrier. He was mostly white and he had red patches on his eyes. There's no way they could mistake that for a German
And
Shepherd.
they specifically said
They
German
said
Shepherd.
German Shepherd.
That's incredible. There's no way to explain that.
No.
And there's so many stories out
There
there
is.
that people have with the same
Absolutely.
sort of thing that's going on.
That's right.
So I know when we've been talking to people in passing, they start talking about their strange
That's right.
stories that have happened. So
That's it.
Definitely something we'd like to do,
Yep.
and definitely something we'd like to be able to share with people.
That's it. And I'll get back to you with when I come up with the name of the podcast.
Yeah, what are we going to call it?
I don't know. I don't know.
Scary Kel?
Scary kill. No, they already know that. I don't have to explain that. So
no
do
idea.
you have any weird stories, Mr. Clayton?
Do I have any weird stories?
Yeah.
I've got so
Turn it
many
around
weird
on you.
stories. It's not funny. I do. We had an incident where an uncle of mine passed away.
Right.
It's probably I was 13 at the time, and
Uh-huh.
it's probably
Where were you?
I was in living in Lidcombe at Mum and
Right.
Dad's place. I was only 13 at the time.
Okay, so this is what, 1955 or?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It was probably the first significant death that I dealt with. So it was pretty traumatic all around, and it was pretty traumatic for everybody because he wasn't really an uncle, but he was Mum and Dad's best friend for about 30 or 40 years.
Right.
When he died, he was a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He was our local GP, and Mum worked there with him, and they became very close, the whole family. Now, when he passed away, my sister and my mum both had dreams where he came to the door in the bedroom and said, it's okay, I'm okay, everything's okay. But
What?
my sister told my dad that she thought it was strange because he was wearing a floral, like Hawaiian shirt. And so Dad.
So had she ever seen him in a floral? Okay,
no,
right. So that's why it
he
stood
was a
out to
doctor,
her.
So it stood out to her. So Dad,
Like Dr. Carl.
yeah, Dad told the story to Mum, and she nearly died because she had a dream and he was wearing a floral shirt the same way. So,
No
so
way.
things like that are really strange.
They are.
But yeah, that really freaked
Yep.
us out, and it was a very strange time. We were all heightened emotions.
Absolutely.
So I think that had a lot
And
to do
I
with it.
so believe this hanging around to maybe his soul is a bit confused about what's happened, and he's hanging around being up close to his family, which he knows and loves, and I don't know, that's bizarre.
Because it was very quick. There was it was
More
it
sudden
was,
things.
it was definitely the most significant death I'd ever dealt with, and still to this day, it was very vivid. The whole
Yeah,
thing.
right.
But that house, the house was an old Federation style house in Lidcombe.
Mm-hmm.
Dad and my brother would often see a lady walk across the hallway from one bedroom to another bedroom.
Yay.
So
We might have to get your dad in here to have a
yeah,
chat then.
Dad will talk about it.
No,
but,
not your dad.
But yeah,
He doesn't like a chat.
They used to talk about that. He's also got a cousin who had a house that was haunted.
Right.
I forget what they called him.
Look at that. See, already 3 other people straight up.
Yeah, but this one at this house they're talking about, it had one of those lounge rooms that had 2 doors, so you'd go through the lounge room to get to the other part of the house. One door would open and close,
Yep.
and then they'd always look up and say hello to him, and then the other door would open and close.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's bizarre, but these are stories that we need.
That's
to,
right.
We need to kind of share.
Well, that's it. I've got to. Well, even my mum, my mum said when I was first born, we used to live down in St Ives, and the house there. And my dad's brought it up too, because my dad swore, like he goes, I know your mum saw something. She was adamant, because your mum doesn't talk about things like that. Like mum's not a big, I don't know, airy-fairy person or anything like that. But she does believe there's something out there. But yeah, she definitely she'd see a man walking down the hallway in the house, and he had a red flannelette shirt on and jeans. She could describe him. She didn't know who it was though, yeah. So
I've met your whole family.
Yes.
Are you adopted?
Shut up. I know. Fully. My mum. Shut up.
I don't know where that came from.
I know. All the attention-seeking genes went to me.
I've got
Hang on, but my niece might be giving me a run for my money.
Why? What happened?
Oh no, she's getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is she?
Oh, yes.
no.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I know. I love it. She's taken after me. But in some way, but she's a lot more sensible than me.
But there's also some other weird sort of synchronicity stories. I've had a few in my life that have happened. One, I was very close. One of my best friends ever, Margaret. Hello, Margaret. How are you? I miss you. But we were very close in our late teens. Very close, and we were obsessed. She was a bit silly.
Yeah. I can't stand those silly people.
Neither can I. It's crazy.
Horrible.
But we were obsessed with Monty Python.
Yeah.
Really were. And there was a song, there was a record we used to have called Monty Python Sings. And it was all the Monty Python songs, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, and all of that. But there was one song called Eric the Half a Bee, and it was all about a little character who was a half a bee, and his name was Eric. And the whole song started.
Hang on, half a bee as in a buzzy bee? Like,
Yes, it doesn't need to be explained anymore.
Okay,
He
sorry,
was
okay.
half a bee.
I just ruined it.
Listen to it. Look up Eric the Half a Bee.
Okay.
Anyway, this song starts with the words half a bee philosophically must ipso facto half not be.
Oh my gosh, that's a warm up.
That's all. It is a warm up. It's excellent. But anyway, that's irrelevant to everything. I hadn't seen Margaret for probably 15 years.
Right.
Or it'd be definitely 10. It was a long time that I hadn't seen her. I was in Canberra. I drove down to Canberra for work, and I went out to one of the outlet stores, and I was going through CDs, and I found Monty Python Sings.
Yeah.
So I listened to it all the way home from Canberra.
Blaring at the top of
All the way home from Canberra. That night,
Yeah.
after not hearing from Margaret for so many years,
Oh,
she sends a message.
there you go.
Do you know what the message says?
No. Something
It
about a bee,
says-
please say that.
It says half a bee philosophically
Oh,
must ipso
stop.
facto half not be.
Oh my gosh. So
It was that
connected.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
It was bizarre.
That's it. You
So-
put it out into the universe and she's picked up on those notes and yep.
There
I
was
so
also.
believe, yep.
Do you want another one?
Yeah.
There
Of
was
course I do. Look, now we've got him started, everybody.
my sister and I were close when we were little, and we used to watch this show. It was called Three of a Kind, and it was Tracy Ullman and Lenny Henry and somebody else.
Oh.
But anyway, it was a great show.
So Lenny Henry was married to Dawn French, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Okay. All right, cool.
But it used to have these little clips where they'd say, I'm such and such, and the other one would say, I'm such and such, and then there'd be a punchline in the third one all the time.
Yeah.
And one of them, I was sitting at the table, and we hadn't watched this show since I was probably about 10 or 11, like a long time. And I was sitting at the table a year or so ago, and I was telling my boys, Auntie Donna and I used to watch this show, and there were 3 people, and one of them said, I'm a football fan. My dad worries about me when I go to football matches. And the other one says, I'm a cricket fan. My dad worries about me when I go to cricket shows. What are they called?
Cricket matches.
They're cricket matches.
I'm just his interpreter.
Whatever.
Everybody.
I don't. This isn't word
He's not
for
into
word.
sport.
Anyway, the third one says, I'm an electric fan. My dad worries about me when I go, throws all his arms around, and that's it.
Yeah.
And my boys just looked at me like I'm crazy. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever because it was a funny gag.
It is.
That night, my sister sends me a text saying, I was just telling Shawnee, who's her youngest, about I'm an electric fan. So just out of nowhere, these things happen. What stories have you got? What else have you got that's weird?
Weird stories.
You've got to have weird stuff
I
in your
lived
life.
in a haunted house when I first moved out of home.
When did you tell me this?
Maybe.
Tell me.
Should have. So it was when I lived with Simone and my first boyfriend's best mate.
Mm-hmm.
That place was spooky as all hell.
Why? What happened? What was the first thing that happened there?
Lots of footsteps we'd hear at night. My bedroom door would open by itself, and I had a cupboard in my bedroom that had a skeleton key. It makes it sound even spookier, but that's what they're called.
Skeleton.
Yeah,
that's quite creepy.
Open the cupboard and a skeleton.
What do you mean a skeleton key? Like one of those old?
Yeah,
keys?
like one of those old long keys that go in those, older cupboards from. Yeah, it was an older cupboard. Mm. Anyway, so it was next to my bed, and you would hear it click, and then the door open. Yep, I'd hear strange music at night. That was really strange. What else would happen? The footsteps. Okay, so there was one time when my girlfriends were over, so I had 2 of my friends over, and we were waiting for Simone to get home because we were going out. So we were ready, and we were upstairs, and we heard the front door open, shut, and someone walk up the stairs because we said, we're up here. No one there. And then one of my friends, Kim, she would never set foot in that place ever again. Because we're one of the first people that moved out of home as our young group, we had a lot of people just would crash at our house, and, we'd all go night clubbing and everyone would just crash at our place because no parents. It was fun. Anyway, there was one night we had a couple of friends stay over, and I got up at about 6 o'clock in the morning and went to the kitchen to get a drink. And when I walked, you had to walk through the lounge room to get to the kitchen. And a friend of mine, Maddie, was staying, and he was sleeping in the lounge room, but he was sitting up, and he's sitting there, and he was a real little rough nut, toughy little kid. And when I say kid, we were all the same age. And he goes, take me home. I said, what's wrong with you? And he goes, no, he said, take me home. I said, what's wrong? I said, I'm not taking you home at 6 o'clock in the morning, Maddie. Go back to sleep. And he goes, no, he said, someone's been walking around me all night. Oh. He was freaked out. Other things like, we had an old-fashioned television. So we had, the old box ones, like no remote controls back in my day. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the television would turn on by itself. It was one of those click ones, and Simone and I'd freak out. There were so many times we'd be freaked out and I'd have to sleep in Simone's bed.
Wow.
Yeah. You ask Simone. Like, Simone dealt with it a lot better than I did. But, yeah, and then after that, yeah, and my dog, that was when and my German Shepherd, that was before I had Odin. So my German Shepherd lived with us there, and he would freak out in that house, and that would scare me more. So when my purse would go missing all the time, things would go missing, and they turn up in the lounge room in the middle of the lounge.
That
room.
doesn't surprise me because you live
shut up.
all the time. So that probably isn't paranormal.
Yeah, but I usually find them at my front door.
I remember we went to the theatre. We were rehearsing some play. We go to the theatre one night. And one time you left your phone in the garden.
Oh, yeah. I'm just very blasé.
We listened to a podcast. Another time we pulled up at your place and
Yep.
you go, oh, I can't find my keys.
Yeah, where's
Where are
my
my
keys?"
keys? And we looked and they were in the front door in front of us in the headlights.
Okay, found him. Well,
Unbelievable.
seriously, I've got nothing to steal.
No. Well, I don't know.
I know that I swear the minute I start locking things up,
Yeah, that's when people
that's
break
when
in.
people are going to break in.
I've got one. I've got another one. Tamora. I was out in Tamora, out in the west, when I was on the road working for a flooring place, and I was meeting up with the couple that owned the store in Tamora that night, and we were talking about all this. They live in a house that used to be a church.
Yep.
Out in Tamora, and it was haunted. And so they were telling me all these haunted stories. And then I had to go back to an old rickety hotel in Tamora, the middle of nowhere. And it had one of those televisions with the pull-out buttons.
Yep.
So, and I was watching it. And so I got up and I turned it off in the night and went to sleep.
Yep.
At some ridiculous time in the morning,
Yeah.
the television came on with the volume turned all the way up and the button was pulled out.
Yikes.
So it wasn't even
Yeah.
a remote, wasn't anything like that. But it just was so loud. I don't know how
dear.
nobody else woke up. But
Well, that's what I want to talk to people
That was a
about. Like, what
freak,
is
you know?
that? Like, is that someone you know that's reaching out to you, or is it someone that something's happened to them in that area that they're trying to reach out? And they're just annoyed that you're in their space. Like, what is that?
It freaks me out.
Love it.
Every time I pick my nose, I scratch my bum. I always think somebody could be
Someone's
watching.
watching.
Someone's
Yeah, I know.
here.
That's why you've
Oh, yeah, you gotta
check
be
yourself.
careful. You
Grandma's
do.
watching.
Kellie Martin,
Yes,
What are you
Clayton
laughing
Williamson. Because you're being rude.
let me ask you something deep. Let's go deep. COVID.
What about it?
Neither of us have had it yet. We don't intend
No.
on getting it, which is
You're going to ask, like, how's it affected you? I think
Cross
you can
fingers.
see, looking straight across to me, I did something quite dramatic during COVID.
well, we all did. I think the hardest part for me, is, obviously, we were all affected. It was all everything was stopped. But for us, when you're a creative, it's impossible. And for you, being a show off,
Yep.
it's really hard when you've got no one to show off to.
I know, and I'm not technical or anything, so I didn't embrace the whole, I don't know, Zoom meeting stuff where I could perform on Zoom.
It's funny how
I need an audience.
years ago they tried to bring in QR codes, and they didn't work. Like they were dead.
Yes.
And but then COVID brought it back to life. So
Yeah, they
it's
did.
funny how everybody knows how to use a QR code now, and
Yep.
that's going to be something into the future.
Absolutely.
It's
Well, it's even on all our food products, everywhere you go now, on every product.
absolutely. I
You'll see
remember
a QR code.
20 years ago, somebody brought out a business card and said, "This is going to be the next big thing, where you put your details on a business card." Now they're back on business cards.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's funny how you kind of adapt to things. But when it was such
We
a bizarre
adapted
time.
very quickly to COVID, all of us.
Yeah, we had to. We had no choice.
Yeah, true.
But how did COVID affect you creatively?
Creatively, it didn't enhance anything. I actually I think I shut down a little bit as well. There wasn't those opportunities to be social around people, and a lot of creative people. I'm one of those creative people that have to be social as well.
Absolutely.
Like,
And
need to bounce off
your
someone.
normal week was we do trivia one night,
Yep.
you do the radio every
Yeah,
couple of
that's
weeks,
right.
the local community radio,
Yes.
we'd go into the studio and you'd talk.
That's right. I might have rehearsals for a show.
You do the private chef working, you do
That's
shows.
right.
Like there was something every night where you had to do
Absolutely.
stuff.
And
All of
now
a
I don't do
sudden-
anything.
All of a sudden I wasn't allowed to visit you. And
Yes.
you live with at the other end of the street.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, things like that. I couldn't visit my parents.
Yeah.
And they lived in the same LGA
Yep.
as us. It was like something I'd never thought I'd see in my life.
No, me neither.
But for me, I think I just totally went crazy with creativity. I started to paint recently.
Yep.
I wrote a short film, which I'm hoping would go somewhere one day. Everything I did was trying to be creative. It was really weird not having any outlet
Yeah,
whatsoever.
absolutely.
So-
You do, because I've noticed it. Well, I mean, even through work, I know. Like I always joke to people at work. No, why do you do so much? It's like, because I drive you insane at work. My creative outlet, doing shows, is a way for me to express that and get all that energy out, so I don't drive my friends and family and work colleagues insane.
Well, I remember when I first met you. I'd known of you for a little while.
Yeah, right. I do make
Amanda,
myself known around the coast.
yeah, my wife and I came and saw Sylvia.
Yeah.
which you were the lead, directed by
Yep.
Jan Ground.
I was just going to remind you who directed that.
Yes, we came and saw Sylvia, and I remember sitting in the audience, and I was there the night that you were playing a dog.
Yes.
So once again,
Sylvia was a great role, by the way.
Yeah, you are the perfect.
I
bitch.
played a Labradoodle, everybody.
Yeah, the perfect bitch. Can't think of
Full of
anybody.
energy and-
Can't think of anybody better to play a big bitch than
You know, there's only a few people that can say that to me, Mr. Clayton
That's
Williamson,
right.
and you are one of them.
Yeah, but I was there the night because Sylvia sees a cat and starts.
That's right, best scene ever.
Swearing, like swearing
Very
at this
foul-mouthed
cat.
dog I was.
Yeah, she was. But the cat was in the audience. So Kel, we were behind her and we could see where she was looking. So she's looking in the audience and she's swearing at this cat. She's calling this cat every name under the sun.
I'd bite her and I'd shove things up its naughty bits.
Yeah,
and
going off her brain. Anyway, there's a lady right in the line of sight. So
I couldn't see her.
jumps up, grabs a handbag and goes, oh, and walks out.
Yep, she did.
So you completely walked
And
out.
I had to keep going. I had to keep going as an actor. You have to keep going on with your role.
Graham was outside of the box office and she just came over and said, I want my money back. And he said, okay. And he gave her the money back. But,
Hilarious. I remember walking off stage going, got one. Got one.
I
But it was
remember,
very, very funny.
I remember watching you that night thinking, I think we're going to get on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I said to Amanda, I think I'm going to get on with this
I like
girl.
this girl.
girl's gonna be,
Yep.
yeah.
What, you just saw the way I was licking Duncan on the face and, you know.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
should
and
be
I thought,
fun.
yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And then, but I didn't get to meet you after that.
Yeah. Can I just say something? During that show, there was times when I'd have to sit up in the audience area for certain scenes, like I'd be off stage. The amount of people in the audience that would talk to me while I'm sitting there trying to and they would pat me.
Yeah,
And-
I've seen people pat you since.
Yes, I know. It's ridiculous. And they would tell me about their dog and how much I remind them of their dog. And it was a beautiful compliment, don't get me wrong, but it was like, this is really weird. And I'm sort of like, you do realise we're in the middle of a show and I'm trying to listen for my cues. Like, I'm not an actual dog. Like,
We've been at the pub in Woy Woy
Yes.
because the play was at Woy
And I
Woy
get-
Little Theatre.
Clayton
which
gets
is-
his nose out of joint about this one, everyone.
Woy Woy Little Theatre is a beautiful little theatre, by the way.
It is.
At the Peninsula
But-
Theatre in Woy Woy, New South Wales, Australia.
It is.
But we go to the pub for trivia on a Tuesday night. It's a great night.
Yeah.
And anyway, Kel got recognised by these people. And of course, she can't just take it and say thank you very much.
Get out.
Bullshit. You had to say, all of a sudden, Kel's over there. Nobody knows what she's talking about. She goes, Clay, they recognised me from
Did
Sylvia.
not.
Yes, you did.
Did
I
not.
had to come over.
Clay had to elbow his way and going, hi, I performed with her too.
Yes, but anyway, so she does get recognised anyway
Yep.
from Sylvia. What do you love about the stage?
Oh, the attention.
What do you love apart from the attention on the stage? What?
It's just, it sounds wanky, but I feel like I belong. And I'm such a hyper, energetic, crazy person. It's so weird, but it's the only time I ever feel calm.
Mm.
Isn't
Yeah.
that
No,
a
it's not.
juxtaposition?
It's not because
I'm just so stupidly confident. I don't know where that comes from.
it's such a strange thing because I hadn't acted for a long time, and I did a lot of television when I was a teenager, and that was,
Did you?
that was a few years ago. But I hadn't acted for a long time. I did a short film in about 2004 or 5, I think it
Right.
was.
Yep.
But a friend of ours, Andrew Thompson, pulled me out of the grave, as it were. And I ended up doing Baskerville at Woy Woy
Oh,
Little
that's right,
Theatre.
Sherlock. That's when I first saw you
That's when
perform on
first saw me.
stage.
So I came and saw you in Sylvia.
That's it.
And missed you afterwards.
Yes.
And then you came and saw me.
And
in
missed you
Baskerville,
afterwards.
Missed me afterwards.
And you know
So
what? I
you still
nearly
didn't
missed
meet.
the whole show, Clayton, because I didn't get tickets because I'm always last minute person. And I actually sneakily texted Lloydie in the
you were
firebox.
You're in the bio box.
Yeah, I was in the buyer box. I said, hey, I don't mind paying, but can you sneak me into the buyer box? So I got to watch the show from the buyer box, and I remember just seeing you and Tom on stage. It was amazing.
I love Tom.
I love Tom too.
But
Where
then
is Tom?
he got moved to South Australia.
Yeah, no, but he hasn't said anything.
Didn't say goodbye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
Yeah. Anyway, He's dead to us. But the
Don't say that. He'd go, Clayton. He looks so hurt.
The thing I love most about Tom is that look where he gives me like, I can't believe you just said that.
Yep.
Thomas, we miss you.
Yes, we do. But COVID has affected us all.
Yeah.
None more so than me. Look at my hair. I used to have long, blonde, beautiful hair, and I shaved my head.
All of us. But that's all right. But that's a good thing. I told you how good is it to have short hair.
It is.
It's brilliant.
But I don't get noticed with my hair anymore.
But you don't need your hair because your personality is so big.
That's true.
Your personality is so annoying that you don't
It
need
is
your hair.
just so true. I'm trying to deal with that with a new job. You can see that look. Oh gosh, she's loud.
I think the thing I love about stage is how the teamwork.
Yes.
Everybody comes together.
That's
whether
right.
It's
They
backstage,
back each
whether
other
it's front
up.
stage. And when you catch a wave of that magic
Yep.
where
Warm fuzzies.
you know you've got the audience in the palm of your hands.
Yes.
When you get that, even if it's for part of a play, or like I remember we did Noel Coward Private Lives together, and I remember there was a part where you were being a bitch. It seems to be
really?
a theme here.
Oh.
You were being a bitch to me, and I was the husband that you were cheating on.
Yeah.
And I would cry at the front.
I know, it was horrible, and I had to be just mean to you.
But I'd be at the front near the audience, and I'd be looking away from you and crying, and people would be crying in the audience.
Yes.
And you thought,
It's nice to be able to connect.
feel something.
Absolutely.
And then
my favourite thing.
10 minutes later, I was having a fight, and people were laughing at me.
Yes.
Wasn't meant to be funny, but
Yeah, it might have been when you that time when you were on stage and it was this serious moment and you sat down on the lounge, but you sat on your hat. Oh my gosh! And it was just like, and it was like, oh God, we had to be all like serious, and like, we just knew you were sitting on someone's hat.
One of my favourite memories of Tom again.
Yeah.
Talk about Tom in Baskerville. There was the first probably 3 or 4 pages was Tom telling us a story. And it's this fantastical story about what happened and, and this happened and all this this amazing
Mystical
language
and-
that
yep,
Tom
yep.
could do
Yep.
for about 4 pages. And I had to
Yeah.
stand there holding a cane, like leaning on a cane, just looking
Wrap
at
it
him,
up, Tom.
listening
Wrap it
to
up.
this story.
Yep.
And then it got to a point where I had to say, but...
So one line,
one word.
and you're waiting for your waiting for your cue. Like, what was your cue?
I had to say but.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say. That's
said
my
but.
only line. I did say but. My only line was but. So Tom goes through his 4 pages and he gets to the part and he looks at me and I go, and? And he just stops.
He would have been so thrown.
He just stops.
Even though it's pretty much the same word, he would have been thrown.
He just
Love
stopped.
Tom.
He looked at me and said, really?
That's the best reaction ever.
Poor
Pointing
Tom.
it out. I love Tom. I love him.
He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, he is an incredible actor.
When we did Baskerville, I was the only character. There were like 5 of us in the cast. I was the only character who did not change all the way through. At one point, Tom
Hang on,
had
when you say change, you mean costume change?
changed my costume.
Yep.
Tom had 7 layers of clothing on because he'd run off stage and come back on as a different
Seriously, that's so hot.
he looked
you
like-
sweat like
It
anything on
was.
stage.
and he was like the Michelin Man. So and I'd come off stage and I'd go, oh, that's so tiring. At one point, I had to take my hat off, and
I love it.
he was so patient with us.
Yeah, I know.
Because
I really liked it. Tom, I think we're still like an enigma to Tom.
I know.
That we end up still coming through because we get in trouble in rehearsals when the attention's not on us. We get very naughty school children, don't
I
we?
remember I was on the phone to you one day, and Amanda was listening. We were talking, and you and I were going.
Hang on, Amanda's your wife.
Amanda's my
yeah,
wife.
real wife.
my first wife. But Amanda, you and I were going, and Amanda said, "Oh no, there's 2 of you."
That's it. Oh, who's this? Yeah, there's 2 of us people. So yeah, Clay and I get called a lot like male and female version of each other.
Yeah. Except Kel's annoying.
Oh, get out. Oh yeah, but I embrace my annoyingness. You don't know you're annoying.
I hide it.
It's really
I hide it
sad. We
sometimes.
talk about him behind his back, and
I know.
look at that. He's going to get all paranoid. He'll go to sleep thinking about that now.
No, I'm going to go to sleep about the ghost stories.
Oh yes.
Thinking about that.
Oh, I'm going to have to send you some. Well, yeah, and I want to get into some ghosts. If anyone has some stories of Wilfred Barrett Drive, or anything on the Central Coast that they've seen that's a bit spooky.
Is that the Jenny's ghost? Or
Yeah, with Jenny Dix. Well, it's on Jenny Dix. It's up near Jenny Dixon Beach. So yeah, the Wilfred Barrett ghost, as legend has it, back in I think it was the 50s or 60s, a young girl was horrifically murdered and abused, and amongst other things, and was killed by a group of young guys, and she's come back to try and find them. So they pick her up.
They see her in a white dress, don't they?
Something like that.
Down the street.
Yep, and she hops into people's cars and she sits in the back, and people drop her off, and she might leave something in the car, so they'll return the next day to the house to say, "Oh, she left this here," and they'll say no.
No. Is it wrong that if I see somebody on that street, I'm just going to hit them? Because I'm not going to pull over.
I'm just going to see if you're a ghost
I
first and just aim for them.
Yep, that's right. No.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of other stories like on the Wakehurst Parkway and down in Northern Beaches and things like that. So there's some really good stories. There's a really good story about a nun down there that was hit by a car, and she gets into people's cars and they see her in the revision mirror.
Oh no!
Yeah. There's a lot of those stories.
Look, I want to go to Maitland Jail too.
Oh, that's good. I've been to Maitland Jail.
The ghost tours.
Yeah,
they do the goat tours.
Goat tours. It'd be fun. Sorry.
I've actually been to a few of them around the country. I went to Fremantle Prison, the ghost tour.
Yep,
it's beautiful. Like I really like walking around at night.
Too, yeah.
And I've also done Port Arthur a few times.
Yeah, Port Arthur's fantastic. I've done their ghost
incredible.
tours.
Oh,
yeah,
so beautiful.
We need to do the quarantine station. Mum's done that too. She stayed overnight though. She's weird.
My parents have been there. I don't think they stayed though.
Yeah, but I used to go to the quarantine station all the time when I was working for Giant Steps. We'd go up there for the walks because the walks up there on the point are just magnificent. And there's also the Anzac Memorials up there and War Memorials.
You were also, where was Giant Steps based?
Oh, so Giant Steps is based in Gladesville.
And that's
so I worked
well.
for a company that worked with adults with autism. And this company has a school for children with autism also. And the whole premises is at the old Gladesville Hospital, which was one of the first mental asylums in Australia, which have some fabulous stories in that place, horrific and sad all at the same time. There's 1,200 bodies buried on site in unmarked graves, which is just so sad. There was just people that were committed to this place and they were never claimed by their families because it was so taboo and it was so shameful for you to have a mental health problem. And some people didn't have the mental health problems. They might have just had an opinion. And their husbands or, whoever wanted to get rid of them. It's awful, some of the stories. Like, there's actual stories of the well-to-do of Sydney society coming to Gladesville Hospital and doing a coin donation and being sat around the oval down on Bedlam Bay there because the whole asylum's on the waterfront. And the well-to-do of Sydney society would sit around the oval edges and then the doctors would parade the patients.
No.
Yep. And there's documents of that. It was a Sydney outing.
Wasn't it? Wasn't life harsh back then?
Oh God!
Like you watch all the documentaries about what they call freaks and how they used to have the
chained
sideshows
beds
and things like that. You look at the Aboriginal
freaks.
history.
Yes.
When we went and saw the amazing Ernie Dingo in Brand New Day down in Parramatta before the COVID
hit. It was just one of the last things we did, wasn't it?
It was, but when you saw the emotion and the things that happened not that long ago,
I know it's
in
horrific.
the Aboriginal history, its own. And then you talk about you having Negro heritage,
yes, that's right,
and the issues that happened over there,
just
the
awful.
American Indians, like there's so much horrible history.
And hatred. Like, where have you come from to hate on something that you've got no experience with either?
Absolutely.
Like,
and
it's
happening.
awful.
It's happening now.
It is. It always
but,
is. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny when you look at how lucky we are here in Australia.
Well, it's a lot of it's education too, and people are just afraid of the unknown. Like, well, that's where I just talking about how the asylums were on the waterfront. That there was a reason. Like, and still to this day, on most asylums that you'll see that have got history are on waterfronts. And the reason for that is because back in the day it was illegal to transport someone with mental health issues by road because it was a danger to the public.
And they also say...
So they did it with tunnels and waterfront.
They also say that tunnels and water are
the
most haunted
That's right.
holdings.
That's it. And there's still tunnels all around Gladesville Hospital. Some of them they're still trying to find, and there's beautiful ruins. I suggest to anyone that has a chance, it's a public place, so you are allowed to go and walk around the premises. It's stunning, absolutely stunning, and there are a lot of ghost stories about the place. Like in that school, some of the teachers, what they said, like they'd be in the class, they'd be there after hours just marking stuff or doing something, and all the pictures would fall off the wall all at the same time.
Oh no!
And they just go, yeah, okay, we're going home now.
See ya.
Yep. But it was a lot of little spook, because we had like different premises, like we had cottages and different places, and one of the buildings that we worked in was the old kitchens. So there was lots of stuff and they'd segregate. Men were only allowed to come in this store, and the women were allowed to sit there. And so there's all these little stories, and the bathrooms are freaky as like those old school bathrooms that you see in movies where the old nuns are drowning people and stuff. Like it's full on. Yeah, spooky place, very spooky place. And there's still reports of security guards getting called out late at night because people have reports of hearing babies crying in buildings.
Wow.
And no one's in them.
I love cemeteries.
Yeah,
I do. Well, like when I was in Paris, walking around the Père Lachaise cemetery, and that's where people like Oscar Wilde and Jim Morrison,
I was going to say Jimmy,
Edith Piaf, and like just to stand there and to walk through, it's the most amazing architecture, and
it's stunning.
It's beautiful. So, and even if you go to
the Quarantine Station Cemetery is stunning too.
Oh, is it?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, I just find them fascinating places. I really do.
Yeah, there's so much history on the Central Coast that we don't embrace or know about.
I do find it funny that we have heritage listed buildings here. Yeah. Because when you go to Europe, I've got friends
Thousands.
a friend of mine said to me once, don't you know anybody who lives in a castle? Like, apparently over there, everybody knows somebody who lives in a castle.
Yeah.
From 1600. My parents went to visit the family home over there in Scotland, and it's got all the low doorways and really thick walls, and
I'd
you'd
fit.
You would.
I'd feel so tall.
Yeah. So it's incredible. I'd love to be able to hear stories from all over the place.
That's it.
Everywhere.
And look, we've even got the oldest stories in the world, haven't we, with our Indigenous culture?
We do. And I've got lots of people I want to talk to.
Absolutely, you do.
Are members of Dark and Jar.
Because Mr. Clayton Williamson is on a journey himself.
I am on a journey myself. Life's full of incredible things, and that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want. I want to find out. There's so many things that I see and I learn about people every day, and I think that's another thing that COVID's done is it's really made you stop, reassess everything, and listen
and appreciate what
you've got.
Definitely,
because until it's taken away, you don't realise how important things are.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good note probably to end on, Mr. Clayton.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Miss Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. I hope to be a part of this in the future.
No, that's it. Thank you.
But because we don't get along at all.
I'll see you soon.
Beautiful. See ya.
Bye. Yarn About You is a Centre Stage creative production. Follow us on Facebook by searching Yarn About You, or visit yarnaboutyou.com.au for more information about the podcast and our guests.